I could pull off a young Dooku. I can't do the old one. Not enough gray yet.
Well, are you gonna like get a wig since you're half bald?
Shut up. Get out of here.
I mean, even in his old age, Christopher Lee had a phenomenal head of hair, and you do not have that. So, I mean,
I can't see you right now, but I'm sure you can see this.
but you can still hear me.
And you can imagine as a listener what gesture I made.
I am number one. This two is not a winner, and three nobody remembers. What does it take to be number one? Me, Obi-Sean. What?
He's made it, guys. He's made it.
Little Nelly for the homeboys. Let's do it.
The Force is what gives the Jedi his power.
Why is the Force connecting us?
I am a Jedi. Always two there are.
We're a dyad in the Force.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. After an unexpected hiatus, we're back for episode 52 of the Force Diet Podcast. I'm your host, Obi-Sean, joined, as always, by my co-host with the most, Jedi John. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm here. I'm ready to go.
It has been a long time. We're at like 7 weeks, I think, since we sat down and recorded last.
Yeah, some major life events happened. I apologize.
Oh, there's no apologies needed for...
Oh, I put us in the situation.
For new, well, you were half of the equation, but new baby is here. You're a dad of two now. You are nearly outnumbered.
Oh yeah, I'm doing my best not to get outnumbered though.
How are things with the little one, with the new little one?
Oh, good. We sleep sometimes at night. We sleep sometimes during the day, but we do sleep, so it's good.
Sleep's good.
Yeah, but it's all health. I mean, she's very healthy, no problems or anything. So we're very fortunate for that. And yeah, but sleep is one thing that we can't always count on consistently when we want it. So.
Well, and how has little man adjusted to being a big brother?
Oh, he loves her.
Yeah.
Every morning he wakes up, wants to see her, just say hi. We're working on gentle. Gentle is a very important word in our household right now. Because he just doesn't understand. I mean, he doesn't understand. He just wants to love her and, grab her head. I don't know why, but yeah. Boop her nose. I'm like,
Oops.
maybe not while she's sleeping. How about that? Let's try that. But,
Yeah, has she got the day-night cycle figured out yet, or is she still back?
Yeah, she's pretty close.
Yeah.
I mean, in general, in the last week and a half or so, it's been pretty consistent. We get that like 6-hour stretch of sleep, which is nice.
That's nice.
Yeah, so she's figuring it out. In general, recently it's been about that midnight to 6 a.m. stretch where we're good.
Wow,
which is fantastic.
7
I'll
weeks
take it.
and you're getting 6 hours in the middle of the night. That's pretty stellar.
I'll take it. Yeah, it's either that 9 a.m. to like 3 or that midnight to 5:30 or 6, and I'm like, this is great. This is fine. I wake up out of it because I just don't wake up to stuff, and I'm like, did you have to get up with her? And my wife's just like, no, she slept, and I said, great.
There you go. It's the opposite of that meme that you see going around Instagram now, where it's the Tiger King, where the parent wakes up in the morning, they've slept peacefully through the night, and they realize they don't turn on the baby monitor. It's
the
like,
camera's off.
I called you 3 times.
Call for help.
And not a. What do you need? How you doing? And
I love that.
I laugh every time I see one of those. They're fantastic.
They're so good.
Now,
of course.
having a new kid, that you got the extended paternity leave, and what that means, right, is you get plenty of time to watch Star Wars, right?
I do. Yeah. It's fantastic. It's been great.
Well, because you're caught up, you're further than I am on your rewatch of Rebels because you have so much free time.
I have free time. Yeah, I mean, I've got a baby in my arms, and I just turn on Rebels, and I watch 2 to 3 episodes at a time, and I'm just cruising through. I'm already through season 2. I mean, I will be through the rest of the series in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Before we go to
Easy.
San Diego, probably.
Before we go to San Diego, I'll have the entire Rebels series in my bag. I'm sure. Again, which is funny because I give you crap all the time for not have watching Rebels.
Yeah. Yep.
Because you need to get through it.
I know.
You just got to get through it. But my first time actually watching Rebels all the way through was my first paternity leave. So, I mean, I've only had it 2 years in the bag. But yeah, phenomenal stuff.
Excellent. Well, and since we last talked, and you became a dad for the second time, there's been a lot of stuff happening in the world of Star Wars, right? You know, from Ahsoka news to
absolutely.
gaming stuff to the Galactic Starcruiser closing, and I think that's going to be one of our first topics of discussion. Is the ill-fated closure or shuttering, I guess, of what was 18 months ago pegged as the ultimate Star Wars experience. And I think we spent 2 different episodes talking about it at length. The first sort of was the announcement, and then the second was after the that first trailer dropped and everyone kind of freaked out. But I remember both of us sharing what we were hoping we would get to do someday aboard the Halcyon, and now it doesn't seem to be. Sad face.
Yeah. There was disappointment when the news broke, obviously, because it ultimately meant that I would never step foot aboard that ship. My wife was trying to make a last ditch effort to do it, and she was just like, "Why wouldn't you want to do something that no one else will ever do again?" And I'm like, "That's a really good point." I couldn't see the value of the money that we would have to spend to go do it. Still, I mean, I know we talked about this previously. Like, the only way I would go do this if I was splitting it with my buddies and it was just the boys' weekend or something like that. That, surrounded by guys that love Star Wars, that want to live, breathe, eat all the stuff Star Wars for 48 hours straight, because that's what you're signing up for. You're signing up for a 48-hour Star Wars. We might sleep for 4 hours total during it. I don't know. And I just could not, even though she was like, "I really want to do this for you." As much as I appreciate that, my wife's an awesome person.
That's pretty excellent. That's pretty awesome.
Right. But she just also wants to, selfishly, she just wants to go to Disney again. So after she gets me there for 2 days, she'll have me there for a week, doing everything else. But I'm just like, it's just too much money for what we're going to get out of it, because she's going to want to take a kid or 2
or both.
I'm like, yeah, if we take both kids, I'm not getting the full experience. I'm like, this is going to be not fun for me. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. What were your thoughts when it first was announced that it would be closing?
Yeah, I mean, it was. I don't know that I was. Well, I guess I was surprised a little bit. I didn't expect. So the final sailing is the end of September, and it is all sold out through the last 3 months now. But I was surprised that it was closing before they even, I guess, considered readjusting the price structure. And there's been a lot of discussion. Okay, well, why did it fail, or would you call it a failure? And that sort of stuff. And yes, the price is exorbitant for what you're kind of getting. And I actually kind of went through and priced out what a family of 4 for the same price, staying at like a deluxe value resort, getting I think I had it at 4 or 5 day park tickets, single park tickets, no park hoppers, because you only get the one park ticket to Hollywood Studios. And so, yeah, for the money, because Disney, let's face it, is not a cheap trip, regardless of how you travel. And so I don't know
Yeah,
that.
your flights are like the cheapest part of the trip.
Well, yeah. Well, and think about that too. You've got a family of 4, and even at like cheap times, you're probably still looking at 400 to 450 round trip, and that's if you catch it at a good deal on Southwest, right? So you're paying, $1,800 plus taxes and fees, whatever, to fly, but that's included in both prices. So I didn't count that because you're going to pay that no matter what, and so, but I don't know that the cost, being prohibitive was the primary reason. I'm sure it was our reason. I think part of it is that it's too niche, right? You got people who are spending the same amount of money getting a more diverse experience in the same umbrella, so you can justify it a bit more versus you really need, like you just said, you need to be a hardcore, not hardcore, but like above average fan to really get the full experience.
And you have to have money.
Right. And current economic climate with inflation and stuff where it is, it's a bit challenging. And you see that even with Disney doing their deals, their summertime deals, trying to get people in the hotels. Like, I don't recall in the time after they opened after COVID seeing all that many, like, hey, there's a few
discounts
for the 50th. Yeah, a few for like the 50th anniversary. But, now they're into the 100 years of magic or whatever, or the Disney 100 celebration. But they're slinging, things left, right, and center. Discount wise, they brought back the dining plan. I think Disney's seen a hit as far as getting people into the parks, at least for the summer months. And so, maybe that had something to do with it. Just kind of a decline, not only in the available cash, which is known, but people pent up after COVID. They spent the next 2.5 years doing the Disney stuff. And so you kind of got that influx because the parks were crazy crowded. And now I think maybe it's starting to taper off a little bit. So I was surprised that it was closing and not restructuring its pricing. I'm surprised they didn't try that first.
Well, I think one of the issues is with a situation like that where you're talking about this is what it cost. And I don't know what the price structure exactly was as far as profitability was from the situation that they were in, but they built a hotel for 100 rooms, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if it's $4,000 for every room, like just ballpark it, 4,000, maybe 5, I guess, if you are getting the deluxe or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So ballpark it, 5,000 rooms. Great, that's $50K a voyage. Out of that money, how much actually are they profiting?
2 zeros. It's
Tell me, did that math right?
500,000. Add 2 zeros.
100 times 5. Yeah. So sorry. Yeah, 500.
So half $500,000.
How much are they really?
For $500,000 over 2
every
days.
voyage.
Yeah, over 2 days. Yep.
Yeah, every voyage.
Mm-hmm.
So like, but how much of that money is coming out of the bottom line? Like, what are they paying all the actors? Like, what are they paying? I mean, they are paying for a lot of stuff with that, and not just that, but like they get the park ticket, which I know that's not a ton, right? But that's $100+ per person for one ticket that they're losing out on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so that's part of the cost.
Yeah,
So like,
a Hollywood
I'm just
Studios.
curious about like what.
Yeah, I was gonna say a Hollywood Studios ticket because we were there in March, and we went on a Tuesday or Wednesday, and it was $150 or $160 for an adult. So it's more than
Right.
$100.
So like
right?
that's just it. Like that's coming out of that profit line, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
because they could sell a park ticket for that and profit way. I mean, well, they would make their normal profit or whatever. So, but that's included with, granted, $5,000 for 4 people, so they're losing $600 on park fee for that, right? So $600 of that is just their park fee for one day going to Batu.
Yeah,
So I would love to see the cost structure out of what they profit off every room that signs up to go, because I think that plays a major role. Because I think about how many actors are
Yeah.
on that cruise ship.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like how much do they have to spend for Gaia because she's performing multiple times and she's singing.
Well, she's
So
actually
like
like
that's actually
a performer,
that's
right? She's a performance artist.
that's
And,
what I mean. Like she's an actual performer. Like
mm-hmm.
she's a performer. Like you have to pay her per show. So like how much do they have to pay that person? And plus, imagine all the makeup, prosthetics for any of the other people in the world,
Mm-hmm.
like animatronics, upkeep. Like I just want to know what the profit center look like, so I can say, could they've discounted it sooner? The answer was maybe not. You know, and then once they restructured it to only cruise twice a week total,
Yeah.
oh, that's not ideal for them.
Well, and to that point, you've got they're getting into the economics of it. They're going to base it off full sailings, right? And there was a larger period of time, right, where you were at 60-70% capacity maybe. And so instead of getting 500,000, you're getting 350,000, and which if your operating cost for that same voyage is, let's say it's 300K, right? So on a full voyage you're making 200K, right? Now you're making 50K. And yeah, it's 50K, but for Disney that's really nothing.
It's pennies.
Yeah, and so the thing about it though is they started building it obviously before everything with COVID happened. So they had to open it to try and recoup some of that cost in a climate that wasn't really suited for it. Although again, when they opened it, it was last March really, and so again, we're going to be 18 months and it's closed. So in March of 22, realistically, there weren't really any restrictions in Florida at that point. So you can't even really blame. I don't even think you can really blame the pandemic for.
No, I think
for
it's
it.
the plan of it. Like, I'm sure you have points that you have, and I am of the major belief that it was the wrong theme for the cruise ship, which I discussed with you, I think, when they were launching it. The same reason I still have a problem with Batuu. It has nothing to do with like do I enjoy Batuu? Absolutely. I'll go there every day if I could. Like if I could go there every day, I'd go to Star Wars World every day.
100%.
And if it's Batuu and that's what I got, that's where I'm going every day. I don't care. But the problem is Batuu is not in any live action sequence. They made a world that doesn't exist to Star Wars fans. So your nostalgic Star Wars fans are like, this place doesn't mean crap to me. So even the ones that could go see it, they're like, I'm disinterested because it means nothing to me. They could have made Tatooine. They could have made so many places, but they chose Batuu, which has never appeared anywhere in live action film or TV show. So you've officially exiled everyone above a probably certain age that is not interested in Disney because they either don't have kids or they've never been interested in going to a Disney park, but they love Star Wars.
Right.
And then the other half of it for me is they themed the ship from First Order and Resistance and this is not a dig at anybody. I don't care what Star Wars you like. If you like Star Wars, you like Star Wars, right? But a majority of people with probably the funds to go live this fantasy out are a little older, which means the sequel trilogy did not land for them. It may have landed for their children.
Right.
Fantastic. That's what it's supposed to do. But it didn't land for the people with the wallet. And the people with the wallet want to see the Empire versus the Rebellion. So they missed the mark with the people that were going to spend money to go do this. And everyone that's a huge Star Wars fan that loves all Star Wars had nothing but great things to say about this. It was the people online that didn't want to spend $5,000 because it was the Resistance and First Order.
Yeah, they didn't want
because they didn't like
they didn't want to
that
see
story.
Yeah, they didn't want to go see Kylo and Rey fight on the starship.
No.
You know.
They wanted to go see the Empire. They wanted to go see what they grew up with, and or not even grew up with, but like they could have. What if they did the Clone Wars? I mean, shoot, they could have done so many different things because the prequel trilogy people are now of age with disposable income. Like the Resistance age people, like the people that are looking up to Rey and Kylo, and like those are their Star Wars people. Awesome. They're teenagers still, in most cases,
or in their early 20s.
or they early 20s.
Yeah.
They don't have $4,000 to $5,000 to go spend on a Star Wars vacation for 2 days.
Right.
Like, if they're lucky, they make it to Disney for 3 days, and one of the days is at Hollywood Studios, so they can go to Star Wars. I mean, I think that's the biggest miss, that Disney didn't listen to the people with the most money.
To that point, right? So because of the experience they built, which was obviously encompassing, and the fact that you go to Batuu on your full day excursion, right? You're hemmed into that story, and so I understand why they did that. And this kind of gets in. I'm kind of jumping ahead, I guess, a little bit, but I feel like had they made it a standalone themed resort, right? And like you would like a Fort Wilderness, or even like go to like the Art of Animation stuff, where you got like a Cars area and a like a Little Mermaid area and everything like that. If you had like a Star Wars themed just hotel, right, and it's not affiliated with the park per se, then to that point you could have it rotate, right? You could have, this part of the year it's prequel, and you've got Padme and Obi-Wan and Padawan Anakin wandering around, and then like middle of the year you've got sequel trilogy stuff, right? So you got Rey and Kylo and all that, First Order stormtroopers, and then at the end of the year you got the OT stuff, right? And you get like a Han and a Leia, and you get some Ewoks.
And people can legitimately have a different experience, because they tried the different
exactly.
experience process. They're like, oh, you could go down one of 4 paths. Cool. That is cool. I think that's a great idea.
We talked about how awesome
to
that
get
sounded.
people to go do a different faction, like to go work with. Like, I think that's a great idea. But having the ability to switch themes completely, that's even better.
Right.
Because then you're also driving traffic in potentially slower times, right? Like,
and you could
so
rotate,
February.
them, right? You could rotate them. And so like,
Yep.
1 year your OT might be around Christmas time. And so you do like Life Day, right? You could have the whole Life Day thing with Chewie, and then you could move it. And so then you could get different times of the year, different themes. You could theme your in hotel restaurant to the appropriate era food, right? And so you're not that I don't think the food was a big issue on the ship from what I read it and heard.
Yeah,
it was
no.
pretty good, but
I think it delivered what was expected.
right. And so, but I think had they not tried to have it be directly attached to, because it is more or less attached to the Black Spire and Batuu, they could have done something like that where it would have been a standalone resort. Now, did they have the space for that? Did they have? I don't know how much space they have around Hollywood Studios. I mean, where they built it, right? It's right behind, so you don't have a ton of space there, right? And so, and I know that they're building the new DVC like tower at the Polynesian and stuff like that, right? But that's like within existing footprints, so I don't know how much actual space they had to build. But I feel like you could have had, take on, 6, 7, 8 year project, build this resort. You could have even different sections of the resort. Like one wing could be like an Endor wing or something, and it's more like forest themed. And then you could have kind of like they do with, like Wilderness Lodge or any of the themed resorts, right? They have different themes per floor, per wing, or whatever. And so that kind of gets into like, what do you think they would do with what exists? And they obviously can't, I don't say obviously, but they're probably not going to do the whole themed resort idea, because that would take, hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars of capital. And so my thinking was, and I don't know what your thoughts are on how could they repurpose this, or can it be reused? I think a lot of the concepts that they brought to this were excellent, and maybe they weren't executed perfectly, but that's part of R&D. And I think that this was just a giant R&D project that was meant to try and recoup some of that development cost. But seeing what they do on the cruise ships with their themed dining and stuff like that, I feel like they could take the Gaia dinner show and stuff like that and move that like onto the Disney Wish, or if they come out with a new class of ship here in the next couple of years, because from what I hear, the Avengers dinner is a bit lackluster on the Wish, and it wouldn't be too terribly difficult to retheme an Avengers style futuristic restaurant to be Star Warsy, and you could then bring in Gaia and I forget the Rhodian's name, but and turn that into the dinner show. That way you don't lose that aspect of it. And you could even bring some of that cosplay like into Hyperspace Lounge. Like you could expand, well, you can't really expand that on the ship, but maybe you could rotate things through, again, stuff that's already existing, and then pull from it. But as far as like the actual building is concerned, it's not exactly in the best location, and to repurpose into something entirely different. So I don't know if you have like special events, like stuff like that, where you have it a couple times a year, like Star Wars Night or something like that, and you reuse the hotel that way.
I think there's a couple of things they could do with it. Who knows if they will. I think for me personally, I would love to go see the hotel. Like I'd love to go see it. Like I'd love to go tour it, and if not tour it, participate in some of the events. Right? Like they were at Hollywood Studios. They already have Jedi training in the old Star Wars section.
Oh
like,
yeah, yeah.
With Darth Vader. Like they do this the young Jedi training, whatever. But like what they did on the Halcyon was, adult Jedi training. Like anybody could do it.
Right.
So, you could probably sell special tickets to get taken off of base on Batuu, go to the hotel, do your activity that you paid for, and then have the experience to go do that, and then come back.
Just like
so I think
just like Droid Building or Savvy's Workshop type thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Except this time you get to shoot off from Batuu to go to the Starcruiser. I think there's ways that they could still implement some of the stuff they had there, and even some of the storyline. You could go. I mean, they used to do it with a card game. The card game in the Magic Kingdom is escaping. It's just escaping me right now. But if you went to the Firehouse and on Main Street right there,
oh yeah.
you could sign up and get put into a magic. It's basically a magic card game. Basically, you get a deck of cards that they give you, and then you can add them to whatever cards you previously had. It was free to play, but you could go to certain spots in the park, and you'd have to play your cards to beat the bosses in each area of the park.
Okay, yeah.
So it was a fun interactive game. They discontinued it before the last time we went to the parks in 2021. It was no longer there. So they discontinued it over COVID at some point, I'm sure, or maybe earlier than that. But cool concept. You can do the same thing in Batuu. Like you can have a spot to sign up to be in the Resistance, or sign up to be a smuggler, or whatever it is, and they can still do the mission aspect and have fun inside the park. So some of the things that they did on the Starcruiser can be brought down just to Batuu, or like I said, you charge a little bit of extra money to go to Jedi training. Cool. Sign me up. I will fly off planet for an hour to go do my Jedi training. Like it's almost like a ticket to a show, except you got to pay for it there. So fine. Versus some of the free shows that they have give you for being there. But like, just like doing Savvy's Workshop or something like that that could be the experience to go do. Like, hey, you can build your lightsaber at Savvy's and then take it to the Halcyon Starcruiser for
Oh, that'd
training.
be cool. That'd be
Like,
cool.
charge me an extra $100. I don't care. Yeah,
I'm already paying
I'm done.
200.
I'm
What's
in.
another
Let's go.
$100, right?
I'm paying $200 to build my lightsaber, and I'm paying $100 to get trained for it. Cool.
Well, and
It's my lightsaber.
right, you get to take it home. And the cool thing, or the thing you mentioned about bringing some of the mission stuff, that stuff originally was supposed to be in Galaxy's Edge, right? Like the whole data pad game, and you were supposed to be able to like interact with the environment, and the castmates were supposed to be able to kind of like interact back with you, just like they ended up doing on the Starcruiser. And they didn't implement that in Galaxy's Edge, and instead implemented it, behind a paywall, so to speak. And so now, perhaps they've figured out a way to effectively implement something that they were already planning to do at Galaxy's Edge, to make Galaxy's Edge more exciting, or more, not even more exciting, but more like every visit, like every time you go to visit, it'll be a little bit different, because the experience, with the castmates, or the mission that happens to be going on that day in the park is different, right? And so you get that slightly different experience every time. And so it makes you want to go back and see, okay, well, what is going to be this time? And so I think that, to your point, I think that would be a really good way of reincorporating, outside of making it a paid additional experience, which I think people would do, heck, even for, make it $500 and have it be a day. Like you spend your day on the ship, and you can go place a box, or you can go to the bar, or you can go, taking a shower, taking the show or whatever. Like, I think some people would pay for that. It's just $6,000, right? For what effectively was not even quite two days. I back to the money thing. I think that was, it was tough for people tough for a lot of people to chew, given how niche, like you were saying about the time period that they were kind of forced to use.
Yeah, I mean, I get, like, that's Disney property, Star Wars, right? Like, Disney made the sequel trilogy. They didn't make the others, so I understand why they did it. From that aspect, because that's their Star Wars. But like I said before, like, the customer that wants to pay for that Star Wars isn't there yet. Right.
And so that kind of leads to kind of the final question is, I've seen people talk about how it's a failure, and, it was doomed to fail and everything like that. And so I guess my question to you is, do you consider it a failure, or do you consider it, part of the business, part of kind of the R&D Imagineering side of things?
Well, from a business standpoint, it failed. I think it laid out with a bad. It was laid out with a bad map to succeed. Mm-hmm. But from a business aspect, it failed. From an R&D / Imagineering aspect, I think they are on the right track, and they probably learned a lot from this project, and they can apply a lot from what they did here to future projects. Mm-hmm. The immersiveness, all that stuff, like, everyone that went loved it. Like, if they were a Star Wars fan, they loved it. So I can't say it failed from a fan aspect. I can't say it failed from experience aspect, but from a business aspect, it failed. Mm-hmm. And lots of different arguments can be made, whether or not be it the wrong theme, the wrong size, like the number of rooms available, or flat out the cost of what it was, which a lot of people's argument was, well, if they added more rooms, the cost could have been lower to take care of everything. I'm like, maybe. I don't.
But then you probably lose the immersion.
Right?
I mean, if you're surrounded by 1,000 people, it's hard to be immersed, right? So it's that give and take there.
And so, like, do you want to make it less immersive because some of the people on board are there for the experience, but they're not super hardcore Star Wars fans, or do you just want the super hardcore Star Wars fans there with you? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's an argument for anyone to have, right? So, but yeah, overall, I can't say it failed from a fan aspect. Like, I didn't get to go, and I wanted to go. So I don't think it failed from a fan aspect. From a business aspect, it was too niche for what they were charging and with the theme they had.
Yeah.
And in my personal opinion, if they would have themed it a little differently, it could have taken off. In my opinion, and that's just me.
It could have taken off.
It could have taken off.
The ship puns are fantastic. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I mean, everything I had heard for the most part, yeah, were glowing reviews. I mean, those who bought into it and played along, I heard nothing but good things. So I agree with you. I don't think from a fan perspective, from those who went, right, it was at all a failure. And I would say almost from a business perspective, it isn't a failure in so much that, like I alluded to earlier, generally with R&D, you don't typically get a big payback except for the thing that succeeds, right? So for every ride idea or show idea that the Imagineers might have, you're going to fail on 90% of them, right? And one of the things, if you kind of read between the lines of Disney as of late over the last, 10 years or so, is that they've really hampered what they put into Imagineering, with compared to, let's say, like what Michael Eisner did and everything like that, the emphasis put onto Imagineering. And as an engineer myself, it's one of those things where if you're not supported by management, right, and you're not given the funds, right, it's hard to innovate. And one of the biggest gripes about Disney is that stuff feels stale. It's not really creative, and really that comes back to the executives. And so from a Disney business perspective, right, this was a not cheaper way because they had to build everything, right? But instead of like dumping the same amount of money into, 9 failed things or 5 failed things, let's say, and maybe one is successful, right? They have one moderately successful thing that's open for a period of time that they get a lot of user feedback on, from a systems perspective, from a logistics perspective. You had all the interactive, aspects of it. And, you got to test out new entertainment ideas, new food options, and that sort of stuff. And so from an ROI perspective, yeah, I'm sure they're going to lose money, which they'll write off in their tax forms, and they probably won't see that big of a hit anyways. Heck, to dismantle those barges from Harmonious, it's stupid expensive, like a money pit. But anyways, so I think from a creative perspective, it definitely was not a failure. Sure, there were certain aspects from like a decor perspective that maybe could have been a little bit better, at least from those initial looks. But theming, whether in the right period or not, was amazing. Again, the entertainment was amazing. The actors, everything about, I feel sorry for them that they pour their heart and souls into this and they get cast aside with nothing to land on, so to speak. So I feel terrible for the actors.
Pun. It's a ship pun, yeah. Ship pun, I'll take it.
But yeah, so in that aspect, I don't think it failed. I mean, yes, it's surprising that it's closing as soon as it is, but I think short of changing the pricing, this was going to be the inevitable end. I just expected it to stretch out a bit further.
Yeah. So. No, absolutely. I wish it would. I mean, I wish it would have been better.
I would have loved to have gone.
I would. That's just it. Like, I know, like, during this conversation, like, I've pointed to the theming a lot, but, like, I would have loved to still go and played my part in whichever faction I decided to go with, which would have been probably the First Order.
Yep, me too. So, it totally would have been a First Order person.
I would have been First Order or Jedi. I think that's the.
I don't think Jedi was an option. I think it was I think it was Resistance, First Order, and smuggling. I don't know that there was a
Jedi
component.
There had to be a Jedi. They had Jedi training there. There had to be a Jedi. There had to be a Jedi option. Just saying. I'm positive there was a Jedi option. Anyway,
It was the secret. It was the secret achievement they had to unlock.
oh yeah. But yeah, like it's one of those things. Like I'm sad that it's going because I would have loved to experience it as an experience. So hopefully they keep some of it alive in some way, like whether it not be like extra ticket costs for something. Like shoot, people were paying all year long for ride passes. Like why wouldn't they pay an extra $40 to get to the Starcruiser for Jedi training? You know, like that's a simple expense that they can still use the whole thing for. I don't know, just my opinion.
Yeah.
And you could test that pretty quickly and figure out if it works or not. And if it doesn't work, you just say, we're done. And you shut down the lift and you move on with your life. So, I don't know.
R.I.P. Halcyon. We didn't know you nearly well enough. So that's the Starcruiser sort of beaten to, what is that? You got bubble wrap.
Just throwing stuff. Anger.
So I think we've kind of talked that topic to completion. Pivot sort of briefly to some of the Ahsoka news that came out again since we last spoke. We did finally get a airdrop or air date, excuse me, August 23rd. And so it'll run through October. And we got the news today or yesterday or maybe it was Friday that it's more or less confirmed to be season 5 of Rebels. So that's exciting in lieu of our Rebels talk
Perfect.
earlier. So, and also in that time, unfortunately, Ray Stevenson passed away, who plays Balin Skoll. So that was very sad news to hear as well. And so, you know, I'm sure he did a phenomenal job as Balin, and I can't wait to see him play that role. But very, very unfortunate to lose him. So, R.I.P. to Ray Stevenson. Now there was some stuff you mentioned in our kind of pre-show that you wanted to talk to briefly about Ahsoka.
No, I think the biggest thing that it's season 5 of Rebels, and for anyone that's seen Rebels already, like the last scene in the animated show was Ahsoka with Sabine trying to find Ezra. They were both together, and they were both like, we have to find Ezra. So that was their mission at the time. So I'm not surprised, especially after seeing the trailer originally at Star Wars Celebration 2 years ago. Well, a year and a half ago now. Well, yeah, 2 years ago. Well, no, just a year and a half. Year and a month, right?
Oh yeah, it was a year ago last month.
Yeah, so a year and a month ago. I'm like, it was 2 years ago. I can't, it's crazy how much stuff has happened. But yeah, it's only been a year and a month. But we were in Anaheim. We saw the first trailer at Celebration, and you know, when you see Chopper roll out on stage, you see Hera in the first trailer. I'm like, so it's Rebels, and they're going after. They have to find Ezra and where he's at, which also means they're going to find someone else. So it should be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to this show. Live action, Sabine, Ahsoka, Ezra, Hera, and Chop. Like, it's going to be great. And I'm sure we'll get Zeb somewhere in there because he's still hanging out with the other Rebel forces, which we found out in Mandalorian. So,
right.
Although brief, he was there.
And I think since we last talked, we got the extended trailer, which had the Inquisitor, or at least the apparent Inquisitor in it, which I guess it's not apparent. I mean, he's got the helicopter double-bladed saber. So, and I actually saw something.
It's crazy.
I was going to say, I saw something today, which was, I think it's from an article posted yesterday on Screen Rant about how an Inquisitor could exist or still exist in the time post Empire. And the thought, it's kind of the similar thinking to how there's still Jedi after Order 66. There's highly likely to be Inquisitors after, well, more or less the Inquisitorious purge, so to speak. Once the Emperor felt that there was really no need to have that anymore. It is not surprising at all that there would still be Inquisitors somewhere. The question is, who would be commanding them? Or are they like Ronins, right? To use a samurai term.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest one there is just thinking that it's very similar to anything else that you mentioned, like the Sith way is a religion, and even if they're not Inquisitors, they may be Sith followers, you know. So like, they may consider themselves Sith, and their main job is to hunt the Jedi, whether or not it be under the Inquisitor name or not. That might be who they learned how to manufacture their lightsabers from. So they've got the helicopter lightsaber because that's how they learned how to build them.
Right.
I think that's probably the easiest way to write it off without actually knowing the full story yet. But in my head, it's probably very similar to that. Like, they learn from their teachings, and they carry on that way because they were not eliminated by the purge, and they feel like they're still tasked with hunting down any remaining Jedi.
Right. And another thing on social media in our absence was the whole griping about, so Balin's yet another Jedi that survived Order 66. And I think to myself, there's no way that the Empire could have, no matter how well they thought they planned it, systematically kill 10,000, however many thousand of Jedi. The fact that they, I guess, eliminated as many as they did was, I guess, for them an achievement in and of itself. But
impressive.
Most impressive. But
Most
again,
impressive.
The Inquisitors, you've got stuff from, Rise of Skywalker about the Sith Eternals and everything like that. And I never knew if the Inquisitors themselves were considered Sith. I thought they were just turned Darksiders. I didn't think they were considered Sith. But regardless, they're Darkside users. And it would not be out of the realm of possibility that the Shadow Council would somehow utilize their talents for their own gain. I mean, that totally sounds Imperial to me. So I'm excited to see.
It's so great. It's so great in Rebels when you get to meet the Shadow.
Damn it. I'm going to go upstairs after this and we talk, merchandise stuff.
It's in season 2. It'll be fine. You'll get there. You'll get there.
See,
you'll meet him.
Whatever. We'll get there and
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I just need, now that I've beaten Jedi Survivor 100%, we'll talk about that in a second, but I actually have some free time now that I'm not sinking 2-3 hours a night into that game out of pure enjoyment. But yeah, Ahsoka, August 23rd, continuation of Rebels, which again, not a surprise. Yeah, the countdown, 58 days, I think.
Something like that. Catch it in your local living rooms.
That's right. So that's the kind of Ahsoka discussion. One thing, speaking of TV, because we're still on this and I was kind of doing some digging, can I just say that Skeleton Crew has got to be the most enigmatic Star Wars show that has ever existed in the history of Star Wars shows. I literally know nothing about it except that Jude Law's in it and the apparent time frame of it. It's supposed to still come out this year, right? So we're 5 days away from July. So we have 5 months. I have seen no press about this, no marketing.
Yeah, they're hiding it.
What is wrong? What has happened? Is I saw some rumor the other day yesterday. No, I walked in this morning and one of our interns, who's a big fan of Star Wars, he'd be proud. He has a polo that's got Boba Fett on it. But he goes, "Did you hear the Acolyte got canceled?" I'm like, "No, it didn't." And he's like, yeah,
No.
I heard the Acolyte got canceled. I'm like, what? And so I like pull it up on my phone, and I'm like, well, did they like fire Leslie Headland? I'm like, I know she's been saying some things, and they've been requoting her things from earlier, and it's like, you know, there's no way. I was like, they just finished it. There's no way they've and it was some gossip mill, some rumor mill thing spitting stuff out.
Yeah.
But then I saw it on Twitter.
What was the source?
I saw it on,
terrible.
I saw it on Twitter again today. Like people were like, you know, this probably didn't happen, but it could have happened. And wouldn't that be Disney to do that? Like to cancel a show like that. But my point is, you know, Acolyte, big press. Even Young Jedi Adventure, big press. Skeleton Crew, Jude Law, you know, kids trying to get home. Crickets. Like I mean, nothing. So I don't know if it still exists in the ethos or what, but I mean, I know it's done shooting. It's done. So where is Skeleton Crew? Is it safe? I guess we'll find out. But I just had to throw that in there because I'm like, I saw it pop up on TV, like Star Wars TV. And I'm like, I don't know anything about this. And it's coming out in like the next 5 months. So we'll see. Sorry, that was a tangent of mine.
Thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers. So the last little segment, I guess we'll talk about kind of a gaming / toy segment. On the last episode, I talked about my first 10-hour experience with Jedi Survivor. So now that I have beaten it, I've beaten it all the way. I figured we'd talk a little bit about that. But first, something we can both talk about is Star Wars Outlaws, which had the trailer and gameplay like sort of walkthrough thing. That dropped 2 weeks ago now because that would drop when I was on vacation. And so I want to get your thoughts on kind of the first look of the new game, which is slated to come out next year, 2024.
Well, I'll start off with the first thing. Graphics look phenomenal, as most next-gen consoles are. Like, never seen a Star Wars game look like this. Mm-hmm. Just watching the trailer piece of it had me excited. You know, it looks like you to play through a character that is semi on the run, semi have their own missions, semi get pulled into whatever missions they may get pulled into, most likely for either side of the war. And it looked like a lot of fun. I mean, the trailer alone excited me, and I know I personally didn't see the 10 minutes of gameplay footage that I guess was released, but just the trailer alone got me excited to play Star Wars games. And hopefully there's a very similar to Knights of the Old Republic, like you did something for the dark side, so you're leaning towards the evil piece versus you're leaning towards the good light side. Like, I hope there's like a give and take there a little bit, so you can kind of forge your own ending to the story, so to speak.
Yeah, so I mean, you play as a scoundrel. What's her name? Kay Vess, and so I don't know that there's going to be a light side, dark side, you know, in that respect. But being, you know, so I did watch the gameplay footage, and being that it's a Ubisoft game, there's a very strong Assassin's Creed sort of vibe. Like, there's elements of stealth. Even the kind of the HUD for the player HUD has a very similar, like, enemy alerted, enemies alarmed, right? And so, you know, you have to get outside of their range, sort of thing. You've got your buddy, your furry buddy, Nyx, which I feel like after BD1, like every Star Wars game is going to have some sort of adorable like sidekick that's going to like pal around with you. But for anybody who's played some of the newer AC games, right, usually there's like an animal counterpart. So like in Valhalla, you had the Raven that could do different things for you. Like you could use it to distract, you could use it to pick things up. And it sounds like Nyx, or looks like anyways, Nyx can do similar things. Like you can have it fetch because it's kind of like a dog, and, you know, distract and do those sorts of things. The thing I think I'm most excited about, and to your point about choices, the gameplay trailer did show that there are dialogue options or like actions. You know, there was a bribe, don't bribe prompt during the gameplay, and so presumably you bribe them. You know, you lose part of your payment, but you don't get chased off world. Whereas if you don't, if you don't bribe, you keep all your money and you get chased off world. But the thing I think I'm most excited about is being open world. The seamless transition, and this was really cool because I hadn't seen this yet, but I heard about it. The seamless transition from planet to space to planet, no load screens. No, like, you haven't played Survivor, but Fallen Order is similar. Like when you're in the ship, right? Hyperspace, you're to the planet, right? No, the ship takes off from the landing pad, flies through atmosphere, in like third person, flies through atmosphere into space, and everything within the space populates. And you then have this air battle and space battle. And then you actually physically make the jump to hyperspace. And then you load into the next planet. Like there's no separate loading screens, which is incredible from an immersion standpoint, like an open world standpoint. The ability to just jump from planets like that, and it had a very Grand Theft Auto vibe to the world itself, right? Like all the different things kind of going on, the different conversations you can hear, and again similar to Assassin's Creed, but set in the Star Wars universe. So, and playing not as a Jedi, or playing a game where your main protagonist is not a Force user. I'm pretty excited about that, just because again it opens up alternate forms of gameplay that aren't just slice through people, which is amazing. Do not get me wrong. But having to be more tactical about that sort of stuff is something that I'm actually looking forward to within the Star Wars universe.
I mean, some of that stuff will be great to be able to just go do. I like the no load screens. That sounds phenomenal. Just the encounters that you're talking about, the dialogue your choices. Hopefully there's some more in-depth ones that actually like are more meaningful full game. Like obviously if you get chased off world, that's a problem you have to take. But I would also like to look at stuff like, even if you say you're going to bribe them, they treat you differently than if you weren't going to bribe them. Like it makes you like a stronger character if you don't bribe, because of, you invoke some kind of fear, so you don't need to bribe, like whatever the situation is. So I think it'd be fun to add some of that stuff in, but we'll see what happens. And overall, it sounds like a lot of fun. Sounds like I said, even in the trailer, I was excited to get a Star Wars game again. So,
yeah, I highly recommend, in your free time, since, you're on paternity leave for like another 17 weeks, be sure to watch the 10-minute gameplay trailer. It's quite impressive.
I don't know if I have enough time. Home Depot, Sam's Club. I don't know. I won't make it.
You're Sam's guy? You're not Costco guy?
We have both.
You're all about Stan, Uncle Stan, supporting Uncle Stan Kroenke.
There's stuff that there's just stuff.
I know.
Either one.
I know.
It's terrible. It's the worst thing. Like we go to Costco for one thing, we go to Sam's for another. I'm like, why are we doing this to ourselves? I don't know.
Well, it's like that scene from Father of the Bride, where he's like, the people over at the bun company got together with the people at the wiener company to screw over the American consumer. It's like people at Sam's Club got together with Costco and said, you know what? We're going to carry these brands, and we're going to carry these brands, and people are going to have to own both
They're gonna need
to shop
both a little bit. It's terrible. It's like the worst thing ever. I'm like, come on, why can't we just get it here? I don't like that brand. I don't care. It doesn't matter.
Get that nice Costco hot dog while you're waiting. I don't know if Sam's Club has any good food at their food court, but Costco hot dogs where it's
pretzels at. And your typical soda and pizza stuff.
So the other game, stuff was
Costco hot dog. You would be addicted to the hot dogs.
What can I say? Never mind. We're not going to go there.
Say it.
I'm not going to say. But the other thing, I don't know how I'm going to talk about Survivor without ruining anything for you. Although I will say that it's been out now for almost 2 months. So,
Well, just do me a favor and just go on for a couple minutes here and ruin it. And, I will sit here and listen.
Well, so that's the thing. I will not ruin it for you because I'm not gonna spoil anything. But I think the last time I
don't care.
I talked a bit about the changing combat and everything like that. And so what I will say is top to bottom, the game is incredible. The story itself. I actually found myself crying at the end. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it's funny because Kara goes, "Hold on, you cried at a video game?" And I said, "Well, hold on, pause." I was like, "It's no different than crying at a movie, or you crying at This Is Us every week because that show is the most depressing thing on television." I know it's over now, but
I honestly think it's more realistic for a video game to cry at because you're way
playing
more hours invested
you're in
into
it.
your character.
Like you're controlling the character. And the way that the story...
I could argue that very easily, like, if people that cry at movies, I'm like, you met this character an hour ago.
It's like
okay.
It's like Luke's reaction to losing Ben. It's like, dude, you guys met like 3 days ago in the desert, like, and now he's your best buddy. No, that's beside the point. But the way that the story is done, and there's an additional character that's brought in. So one of the characters, Bode, he's got a daughter that he talks a lot about throughout the whole the whole game. And there's a point where you actually meet her as Cal, and you have this exchange, and then there's an exchange between you and Bode, and you get to the end of the game, and again, I'm not going to ruin it for you, but there's something that she does, and as a parent, like let me just say that if you're a parent, there are certain things that will hit differently than if you don't have kids. There will be people who don't have kids that won't understand certain things. They may not find certain aspects sad or understandable or relatable or anything like that. Not saying that the actions justify the reasoning, but you can kind of put yourself in that character's shoes. And I'm doing my best to tiptoe around this damn thing. But
I mean, do you need me to walk away for a minute?
No. Because those who've played it know what I'm talking about, and those who haven't won't have it spoiled for them, and they'll have something to look forward to, hopefully. But I will say that after the main story, though, there is a ton to do, unless of course you're somebody who does all the side missions kind of before you finish the story. I will say that it would be very beneficial to go around and find probably at least 3 or 4 additional stim packs, because I think you start with 2 or 3. So for a lot of the boss fights as you go through, again, this is for people who haven't played or maybe are halfway through. If you don't want to have to turn down your difficulty because you have pride like myself, I highly recommend having at least 7 or 8 and I'll get to that in a second, but 7 or 8 stims for some of the later boss fights that are quite challenging based on just like move sets and stuff like that. But post story mode, right? You got all the collectibles and stuff like that. And I think I mentioned it in the last discussion about the force tears, but these are basically like either platforming things or combat puzzles, basically. And there are 2 actually, which are an absolute nightmare. And one is you have to fight 2 Rancors at the same time.
Usually you pay double for that kind of action, Cotton.
And the other one is you have to fight both Ogdo Bogdo and the spawn of Ogdo.
Ouch, town population, you, bro!
At the same time. And they still possess the same one-hit KO moves that they do in the main story. And you can't run away. And you have to beat them to get the achievement. And so I go back to me talking about my pride, and I had no problem lowering that difficulty to story mode so that I could beat the crap out of the Rancor. and the Ogda Bogdos, because you end up getting like a power after the main story that is very helpful in beating them in probably 8 hits. So I will say that I did lower the difficulty for that. But you've got the bounty missions, which completing those does unlock a cool little Easter egg, which I know was ruined for you. But even in the story, it's actually really cool. And there's stuff that you can, there's dialogue that you can push after the fact, which is fun to listen to. So again, if you're playing it or you're planning to play it, make sure that you finish the bounty missions, because it's a treat, that little Easter egg. And then kind of the last thing, as far as collecting, whether it be the all the seeds, which that is a bore. Collecting all the seeds, which you don't even get an achievement for. So again, don't feel like you need to do that unless you're a masochist like me, and I wanted to get every collectible. There is no achievement for that like there was in the last game. There is an achievement for unlocking everything at Doma's shop, which requires all the priorite shards. I think there's 100 of those, so you do have to find all those. But the other thing was, what was it? Oh, damn it. There was something that I was going to give advice on, and now I can't remember it. But
you said the seeds, the shards, and then
yeah, seeds, shards, bounties, forced tears. Oh, that was what I was going to talk about. And so then there's one other thing there are a bunch of different fish for the fish tank in Grease's Saloon. And the character who is the fisherman is Scuba Stev, which sounds a lot like Scuba Steve.
Scuba Steve, Big Daddy.
But Scuba Steve. So Scuba Steve, he's voiced by some Scottish guy, which is amazing, or somebody with an amazing Scottish accent, because he's like, Laddie, let me tell you the story. And I'm like, oh my God, you are the greatest character ever. And so like you find him at different points in the world on his little hoverboard or a hovercraft, and he's this little minute little fella, and he tells you this cool story, like if you like play everything after he catches the fish for you. It's definitely a treat. But I will say, in my quest for 100, I did consult the internet on 3 things. So one of them was where one of the last not Jedi, but High Republic vaults were, because it's nondescript and you have to have it to unlock one of the consoles. So that's one. I also had to look to see where the last Scuba Stev was, because I had 11 of 12 unlocked, and I'm like, I'm not running around this massive map trying to find him in one location, because he's not marked. You just happen upon him through exploration. And then the last one was for where one of the priorite shards was actually hidden, because like you can see it on your map, but you don't know where on the map it is, like up, down, whatever. And it was like,
it could be.
I'm like, how the heck do I get
elevation?
Yeah, I'm like, how the heck do I get up there? And like, oh, you have to go this way, and then you have to climb up here, and then jump over here. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So, but yeah, overall, again, the best Star Wars game I've ever played. I will say some of the story stuff might be a little out there for some of the people who aren't again up on the new canon stuff relating to the High Republic. Maybe that's a spoiler, minor spoiler, but there are aspects of that. So if you're not familiar with it, it's going to kind of be like, well, what is this? But as far as the character development, the emotion, again, the combat, the environments, the worlds, yeah, I would say probably 9.5, 9.6 out of 10 for me. It was a blast. So I know you haven't started playing it yet. I unfortunately told you that it is not available on next last gen consoles, so
I know
you're gonna have to migrate the Xbox upstairs to play it. But
I will
highly recommend if you get the chance.
I mean, I still got to beat Lego Star Wars, so got a lot of stuff to do here.
Oh, that's a fun one. That's another one I 100%ed. It's a blast.
I will. I'll get there eventually. Probably when my kid gets old enough to play video games, I'll be like, let's play Lego Star Wars.
Well, and it's funny you say that because one of Connor's favorite things is watching me play Jedi Survivor. He goes, Dad, you want to play the exploring game? I said, yes, son, I do.
Yes, I do.
And so then I have to think to myself, okay, do I like assassinate this stormtrooper by, skewering him through the back in front of my child? And then I think, no, you know what? I'm just going to force lift him up and then eject him off the cliff because
The answer is always yes to either one of those.
Daddy didn't kill him. He just knocked him out. Because he'll go, Daddy, are they dead? And I go, nope. They are knocked out.
That reminds me of the Funny or Die skits for Batman or whatever.
Uh-huh.
It's the College Humor.
Yeah.
Batman one. He's like, that's your one rule. You don't kill some. He's like, yeah, he's sleeping. No, you shot him. I don't use guns.
He's sleeping.
But
He's just knocked out.
You just did that. You just did that. Like they're dead. Oh, he's just tired.
So that's how you explain that to a 4-year-old. But no, it's funny that he actually enjoys watch me play, and then he will say
great.
that, Dad, you got to go closer and explore that monster, and I'm like, nope, Dad doesn't want to go over there and fight that monster. Dad will get killed by that monster. Dad needs to go the other way.
Explore what that is, Dad.
Dad needs to go the other way. So yeah, great game. Again, for those who haven't played it, please do if you have the console to run it. I didn't experience literally no issues. Like from a game breaking perspective, I did have one experience where I had my lightsaber out in Grease's cantina when you're not supposed to. Like it glitched out, and I was like skewering people as I was talking to them. So that was kind of a funny bug, but nothing a little restart didn't fix. So otherwise, I was pretty much bug free. So, but that's my game news. Do you want to do a quick toy segment? Do you have a toy update for the summer wave?
I don't have a ton for Black Series, to be honest. I'm overloaded right now, so you've seen my room briefly. Jedi John's having an issue with some space and
Funds.
Also time and funds is also an issue right now. 2 kids now, so. But overall, some of the new figures are launching. They're great. I'm happy to see them. I'm a little disappointed with the 40th anniversary wave for Return of the Jedi. I feel like they could have done some different figures for it. It is what it is. They don't ask me over at Lucasfilm what I want, so or Hasbro for that matter. So I'm relegated to the plebes. So
I saw they had like a cubic Darth Vader for the 100th for like the Disney 100. It's like a diamond, like
they're doing faceted ones.
Faceted one.
Yeah, I've got one faceted R2-D2 laying around somewhere. They look okay.
Okay.
I wish they looked like the rendering. The rendering looked phenomenal, but in person, it's you get what you get.
Leaves a bit to be desired.
So, yeah, but it's overall, they're pretty cool. So, but yeah, I'm excited to see a few new things come out, but overall, I just want new. If it's a new figure, like a brand new mold, super excited about it. If it's a rehash or just a new outfit on the same character, I'm like, meh, I don't need it again. Mostly because I'm not opening them.
Right.
So I don't need another Mando. I just don't need him.
Now are there any
Karga?
Are there any?
I don't care if he's Magistrate Karga now. I don't care.
He has the flouncy robe. He gets the. Is he flocked?
I don't.
What if the robe was flocked?
I just don't care.
It was a flocked robe.
You know who I like is like the they did Werner's character.
Werner Herzog.
The client. The client.
Yeah.
And
I would like to see the baby.
Well, yeah, but he has
Oh,
the vault
the
with him.
Camtono.
Like it's one. The Cantono is one of his
Yeah.
accessories.
Awesome.
I think the Cantono alone sells for like $20, and the Werner figure sells for 5.
That's awesome.
So, yeah,
That's fantastic. Well,
pretty cool.
are there any SDCC Star Wars exclusives that are worth getting, or are they all rehashes?
I've not seen any announced yet.
Okay.
I haven't seen any announced, and it's possible I'm behind on that, so I apologize. I did see a couple Funkos announced for it from the Ahsoka show. They've got at least one that's coming out, and then they've got a Dooku versus Anakin 2-pack duel.
Ooh.
That's for SDCC. So
From Revenge of the
I
Sith,
will be
or
doing
from
my best.
Attack of the Clones?
I feel like he had long hair, so I'm gonna say Revenge of the Sith.
So Jedi Knight Anakin. So Revenge of the Sith. Nice.
Yep, because they did a Attack of the Clones Anakin for NYCC in the fall, so I think that they're gonna move into the Revenge of the Sith Anakin mold for
Gotcha.
the next pop. Pretty cool. What about you? What do you got? Toys?
So yeah, doing the Lego Summer Wave coming out August 1st. I will say currently out is the they did release the Ultimate Collector Series X-Wing. This was back on the May the 4th, which is pretty much the last time we talked. So I did get that. It's again on camera. It's just off frame over here. Actually, it's, even though I'm not even putting these up on YouTube right now, it does look quite good. There we go. It's massive. The box is massive. Put it behind my head. There you go. So it looks pretty good. It's, how many pieces is it? 1,949 pieces. And you know what? I really feel like, again, just kind of talking here for a second. I feel like they missed the boat in having it be 1,977 pieces for A New Hope. Like, I really feel like you could have thrown in 28 more pieces and
figured it out.
And had it figured out. But regardless, so the August 1st wave, you've got the Yavin 4 set, which is 1066 pieces with 12 minifigs. The Ahsoka 332nd Battle Pack comes with 4 figs. The Yoda Starfighter, which is the remake of the 2017 version, which comes with Yoda and R2. And then they have these new like mech series figures, and so they're basically they're Lego mech bodies with the minifigure as like the head. So if you think kind of like Mobile Suit Gundam type thing, like a Gundam where the person's controlling it from up top, that's kind of like what these sets look like. They look okay. I've never been a huge fan of like that series. They had a set or a series many years ago now where they were kind of like Technic Lego figurines for Star Wars. I actually think I know Keith got me the Obi-Wan one, which is actually pretty cool. But I feel like these mechs are kind of inexpensive ways, or relatively inexpensive ways, to like get minifigures into people's hands. But the big release is the Yavin 4 set, which looks okay. I wish they would have probably gone with another 500 or 600 pieces. You've got the throne room and the battle plan, or the like the war room sort of setup. It looks okay. The minifigure makeup isn't amazing. I don't know if any of the figures are exclusive. I know some like the droids are common, everything like that. So it'll be interesting to see how many exclusive minifigures you get, and what the price point is. Being roughly 1,100 pieces, I'm gonna guess it's probably gonna be $150. Although perhaps they've already listed the price. Give me a second. Oh, they did.
There's
Sorry.
a hold pattern right now.
Yeah, no, they did come out with the price. It is $170. So I was going to say $150, but so yeah, $170 for the Yavin 4. The Starfighter set is going to be $35. The Battle Pack is going to be $20, and the mechs are $16 a piece. And then there will be the Star Wars Advent Calendar, which comes out in September. Again, kind of looking at the Star Wars that's coming, nothing really super exciting. The Battle Pack will be nice for world builders, for army builders, but it will, of course, be hoarded to no end. So from an investment perspective, it's not huge. I will say something that is not Star Wars related is the new Disney Castle that is coming out, which looks excellent. It's going to be $350, I think, or thereabouts, which is about the same price as what the old Disney Castle was that just retired. So I know investors on that one are a little peeved off. But they're releasing it for the 100th, for the Disney 100 celebration. So,
of course,
it looks really good. I would like to buy it. At some point, it would look real good next to my 50th anniversary mini castle that I have. So I think that one also drops on. I think that one drops on 8/1, although that may drop for 4th of July. I'm not entirely certain. But that's Lego news. So, other than that,
nice.
Yeah, I don't have a ton to talk about. I think on our next episode we're gonna have our like SDCC preview. And
yeah, hopefully we'll have some news to share for that. I'm hoping we'll get some answers prior.
Yeah, and I don't know. You're the expert when it comes to SDCC as far as when they do guest announcements and that sort of stuff. But as far as we already know that Marvel's not going to Hall H.
I think the biggest thing for that is they just keep everything so close to the vest. Like the SDCC, it's crazy. They just expect everybody to be there. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, and I saw something that said, HBO's not going to be there, Sony's not going to be there, Disney's not. Well, I shouldn't say be there. I mean, they're not going to have a Hall H like panel type thing. Like Disney's not going to be there, and that sort of stuff. Like the big studios aren't really going to be there. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks we get a bit more clarity, because we are less than a month away from SDCC and Mosh Isley. And I don't know about you, but I got my outfit, my frock for the show.
That'd be good. I saw that. Yeah, I need to pick out something. I'm thinking I'm gonna go Dooku, like young Dooku. I just gotta find it quickly.
For that, well, you've got the saber, right? You've got the Dooku blade, right? So, right. And I've got my Kenobi saber that I'll bring, my Episode 3 one. So. Very excited about that.
I could pull off a young Dooku. I can't do the old one. Not enough gray yet.
Well, are you gonna like get a wig since you're half bald?
Shut up. Get out of here.
I mean, even in his old age, Christopher Lee had a phenomenal head of hair, and you do not have that. So, I mean, I don't mean to be mean, but you've got male pattern baldness like no other.
I can't see you right now, but I'm sure you can see.
I can see. Yeah, my battery died on my camera, so and we're at the end of the show, so I ain't replacing the battery.
Yeah, smart.
But you can still hear me.
And you can imagine as a listener what gesture I made.
I am number one. This 2 is not a winner, and 3 nobody remembers. What does it take to be number one? Me, Obi-Sean. What?
He's made it, guys. He's made it.
Little Nelly for the homeboys. Let's do it. And I think
Alrighty.
I think on that we're gonna bring the episode to a close. Yeah. We're gonna thank you all for listening. If you do enjoy the content, please consider sharing the episodes, liking, subscribing, rating, reviewing, and doing all that stuff on the podcast platform of your choice. We do really appreciate you tuning in. For fandoms outside of Star Wars, be sure to check out our friends over at Galactic Dads, at Galactic Dads on all the podcast platforms. I know that they just released a new episode a couple weeks ago now. So
Episode 102 is out
there you go.
currently.
So be sure to check them out again on all the podcasting platforms. But for us, we're going to make our jump to hyperspace. So for Jedi John, I'm Obi-Sean, and until next time,
May the Force be with you.